Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at creating a counter. To get going with our counter, we're going to need a number of layers. So we're going to need ideally 4 layers altogether. So I'm just going to click the create new layer icon down the bottom left here. And I'm going to call the first layer, let's call this down button. Let's call the second layer up button. Let's call the third layer text box, and let's call the fourth layer actions. In the first frame of the down button, so let's select that, left click, let's draw a little button for this. So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool, drag on my button, in my case drag on my rectangle. Let's add some text to it. So I'm just going to call this down. I'm going to highlight the text, Control and A, and change the color over here in my properties to white so that we'll be able to see the text. Now obviously if you want to change the background color of this, you can use the little icons down here on the left hand side to do with the paint bucket, that's to do with the fill color, and then the stroke color is to do with the border color. But I'm happy enough with those 2 colors. So to select the 2, I'm going to left click down, hold the shift key down, and left click my box. And I'm going to right click and go convert to symbol. We want to convert it that's going to be a button. Symbol 1 is perfect. I'm going to click OK. And over here in the properties we're going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it button down in the properties window. So now we've got my button selected and created. So in frame 1 of the up button, I'm going to draw another rectangle, draw it on. Now for example, if it's white like that, obviously you can come down here to the paint bucket, select a color, and all you need to do then is get the paint bucket to fill it. I'm going to drag on some text and I'm going to call this one up. Now let's use a different type of font, color, and maybe put a dark color and drag that on top of my rectangle. Again, with the up selected, I hold down the shift key and select my box, or my rectangle in this case, and right click and go convert to symbol. And again we want it as a button, and symbol 2 is okay for that. And we give it a name in the property, so this time I'm going to call it button up. Perfect, and now we've got our 2 buttons set up and converted to a button. Now we need to go to the text box, so we're going to click on frame 1. I'm going to come up here to where my T icon is to represent text, so I left click that. I left click on my stage and drag a little box, and over here in the properties, without typing any text, we're going to come here to the little drop down. I'm going to select dynamic text. So what we'll be doing up to this point, static text is where you want to include some text such as a label. Dynamic text is where you'll see in a few minutes when we click the buttons, it's either going to go up or down, and input text is where you're asking the user to input something. So we're going to select this, which is our dynamic text. Perfect. And all we need to do now is go into frame 1 of our actions, right click and go to actions. And I've got some code that I want to paste in here. Okay, so what's happening here, it's saying on click down of the button, it's going to obviously bring down the number. So number press minus minus. So if you click up, it's going to go to 1. If you press down, it'll go to 0. If you press down again, it'll go to -1. So I click X to close it, and then I go Control and Enter to run it. Now it's going to bring you up a number of issues here. Alright, so the first issue that it's going to bring you up, it's going to bring you up the error that's something wrong with the dynamic. So I'll just run that again. And the error is saying access or defined property message box. Perfect. Okay, so what's happened there is, well, there's 2 things. The first thing is I didn't give this a name, which I should have. So it's already selected. So let's call that message box, because that's what I called it in my action code. And let's run that again, Control and Enter. The other error that comes up is fonts should be embedded. And this is a common thing when you're creating dynamic fonts. So all we need to do then is come back in here to the properties And where it says anti-alias, let's click the drop down there and go use device fonts. So let's go Control and Enter once more. And now when we click the up, it might go 1. If we click down, it goes 0. Click down again, it goes -1, and vice versa. So this has created a counter for us. But one of the errors I had was, first of all, I didn't give this a name. And the second one was saying it can't use, obviously, external fonts. So we needed to change the anti-alias to say use these device fonts. So that's the end of the video, and thank you for watching.